Hi, I'm Heli from Finland. I'm a CEO for Miracle Finland and an Oracle ACE Director, and I'm here with Gerald.
Hi, I'm Gerald Venzl. I'm a Master Product Manager for Oracle Corporation.
So I heard there's Emerging Technologies track this year at the Kscope, and you're part of that. So what is Emerging Technologies?
Yeah, so actually, for the first time in Kscope they have a new track for emerging technologies. Emerging technologies, we essentially try to focus on the new and coming. Sometimes it's actually the old, new and coming things that have been rediscovered as well again. So
Give me an example.
Yeah, so I suppose the machine learning part today would be an rediscovered set of techniques and tools that we had in the past. So machine learning is very hyped today, right? Everybody's talking about it. Often in conjunction with AI, artificial intelligence. And then actually, when you look into machine learning, you will see that a lot of the algorithms that are used that we classify as machine learning algorithms are actually there since a long, long time, like the 90s, 80s, even sooner. Which is obviously funny because actually did you not give a talk on machine learning yesterday? But we also focus on, like anything that's new and coming that you probably sooner or later will come across. Like, so we also covered, or in my session I actually did a summary session of 6 different emerging technologies and give a quick explanation about them. We covered containers and Kubernetes, right? Just a new way how to run software. We talked about blockchain and how it's actually not just Bitcoin but more behind it. We talked about chatbots, which was very, very emerging and trendy last year. It's kind of dying off a little bit again, but still there. It's basically the different ways of how we can interact with machines now. So not only via text anymore, but also via voice. They're very much capable now to process our voice and get a meaning and understanding out of what we're saying. We had obviously the machine learning part, and I covered, try to remember here now, we covered serverless and DevOps as well. DevOps was interesting because it's not really a technology, it's a methodology, but nevertheless there's so much hype around it that DevOps is all everywhere. There's people with the job title, there's products now that are DevOps, so it was good to cover that as well. And I think the session went fairly well, but the whole track was geared towards those kind of new on the horizon technologies, or as I said, like new ways of doing things, perhaps even new old ways of doing things.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of those in the Oracle Code events. So the Code One and the Code events around the globe. So Oracle is obviously very interested about these emerging technologies. Why?
Yeah, I think that at its core, when you think about Oracle's history, we are essentially an emerging technology company, right? We took back in the days the relational model and back then decided to produce the first commercial relational database when everybody else said this will never work, etc.
That is
right?
true.
So it was very much emerging back then. But of course, now being such a big company with so many different customers, of course, I think it's true for any company, right? You cannot just sit back, relax, and see what's happening. You always want to watch out a little bit of what's happening and what the trends are, where the trends are going. Actually, part of Oracle, though, also is researching actively. So we have the Oracle Labs division that their main job is to research new ways of doing things, and in a sense they produce emerging technologies. So one thing that's very trendy right now out there as well, in a different space, is the Geralds VM, which is a new Java virtual engine that allows you to actually run many, many different languages in it, and there's many other benefits. So that will be classified as emerging as well. But obviously there's always a core interest in making sure that you stay up to date with what's happening out there. And as a big software vendor, you have the opportunity you have a lot of smart people that you employ, so they come up with new ways of doing things as well.
That sounds very smart. I'm very glad. As a big fan of Oracle, this sounds very good.
There you go.
So last year at the Oracle Code One, we had this blockchain beer thing going on. So what was that? The really good part was we had beer. Yes, for free.
For free at the Groundbreakers Hub. So we actually used the blockchain technology to put to good use in the microbrewing world, which is quite big now in the US and also in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of emphasis around that you put the right ingredients in your beer, you know, that you didn't cheat on some cheaper stuff for chemicals and so forth. And we happen to have a microbrewery just around the Oracle headquarters called Alpha Acid, who produce fantastic beer, by the way.
I tried it, I can tell you.
There you go,
yes.
yeah. And so we partnered up with them and we gave them access to our blockchain cloud service and vendors, the suppliers, to essentially trace back all the ingredients that go into the beer. And so at the Code 1 booth where you had the beer that you tasted, you could actually scan a QR code and it would show you exactly from that batch of beer when it was brewed, where it was brewed, under which conditions, but also like where the hops came from, where the malt came from, and so forth. So that was pretty cool as well, just to have this end-to-end traceability.
Yeah, and the whole idea is that nobody can fool. There's no way of cheating anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So this is the idea about the blockchain, that like everything is immutable, tracked, chained together in those blocks that are based upon each other. So it's like you have a transaction happening, like I sell you the hops, that would get a secure hash, and then you using that hops for brewing, you would essentially, your transaction of taking this hops for brewing, you will base this on the secure hash of me giving you the hops and then, you know, selling the beer and so forth. So it's this chain that goes forward and forward and forward, and if you were to ever try to interject yourself somewhere or fool around with something, try to fraud something, the hash would change and therefore the entire chain would be invalidated. So this is kind of how you get this immutable traceability all the way back.
Sounds really nice. So what is your personal favorite of these technologies?
My personal favorite. Well, I suppose 2-3 years ago I was a big Docker boy. So, you know, I looked into the containerization, just how to run software differently in a very unified standard form with containers, and Docker was certainly one of the pioneers in that space, if you will. I'm actually just about to start looking into WebAssembly more, which is you can think of it almost as an intermediate representation between your code and your program that runs. So you would compile down to WebAssembly and then you would have a WebAssembly runtime on your machine. A little bit like what Java does with the JVM, for example, and there's certain benefits along with that as well. So I give a short 10-minute talk tomorrow at the conference about WebAssembly, system interface, and what it is and where it comes from. And essentially it gives you, like all of those intermediate representation allow you to do much more decisions at runtime. So in a nutshell, for example, if you run something today on a Linux machine as user Gerald, whatever the program is, it inherits all the rights that user Gerald has, right? All the files that I can touch and so forth. Now, depending actually which application I execute, I may not want to have the same scope. So it's like, let's say I have an application that controls or manages Linux users, for example, as user Gerald, I would have to have access to certain files to do this user management on Linux. If I then execute another program, then I would just perhaps send emails or something. I don't need all those privileges. And so this is something that an intermediate representation can actually do, right? It can actually say at runtime, well, you have to have these kind of set of privileges, but actually the other program, you get a smaller set of privileges, even though you run as the same user. So it takes that to a new level. Or, you know, another way would be to think of it, if we stay in database land, an Oracle database runs under the Oracle database user, the DBA logs in as the Oracle user, so he has all these privileges that the database needs to run. Should the DBA really have all those privileges, right, and stuff like that. So this is an interesting new area, very much emerging tech right now. And yeah, we see where it goes. That
sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? Will you be running those code events also this year or the coming year? Will it continue?
Yeah, we will actually continue these. So the code events are, for the listeners out there who don't know, they are one-day free events geared towards developers around the world, where we essentially try to give you, the attendee, a nice overview within one day of all the different trends, technologies that you have out there that you can leverage to build modern new systems. And actually we are planning and running more in the, I'm just not sure whether this calendar year or next calendar year. So this year we only did them in spring, because we have the open world Code 1 in September this year, so it was kind of like tight with
Yeah.
September and then US Thanksgiving and then Christmas break around the world and so forth. So we decided to stick to spring.
So what do you think about Kscope? Will it be Kscope20? Will we have emergent technologies as well?
So the feedback I got was very positive, and obviously it's up to the conference organizers. But just by I had the honor to be part of the content selection committee as part of the ODTUG people, and I from them got very good feedback over the attendance as well as the sessions that I put forward. So I think there's a high chance that they continue with the emerging track. I certainly would highly recommend it because, as said, right, there's always emerging technology, but there's always something new coming, and I think a lot of us come to conferences to learn something new, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Network and exchange knowledge and learn something new.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. It was so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you, Heli, for having me. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
thank you.
Thanks.